Minister, today there are reports of a nursing home in Galway where 26 patients out of 28 have tested positive for COVID-19. One of those residents has died, and our hearts and our prayers are with that resident's family. Minister, the nursing home says that they received no help from the HSE and that for the past 72 hours, one nurse and one care assistant was attending those patients. Minister, that's an absolute scandal, because if you add up the oceans of rhetoric that has existed around the issue of COVID for the last 7 months, the most important element should have and always should have been the protection of those nursing homes. Men and women in nursing homes are by far the most vulnerable to this illness and are by far the most exposed to this illness. And the majority of deaths that we've seen so far with regards to COVID have actually happened in the area of the nursing homes. And it's incredible because, Minister, I asked you a number of times to investigate what happened in the nursing homes after the first wave that happened back at the start of the year. I asked the then Minister for Health, Simon Harris, to do the same. Both ministers refused, point blank, to do an investigation with regards to the nursing homes. We heard rhetoric about learning new things, etc. And yet we have a situation today where a nursing home in Galway is literally ravaged by COVID. It is just so frustrating to get your head around, Minister, that no investigation was held with regard to what happened in the start of the year, and now that we're seeing it happen again. There's one particular case in my own constituency, the case of Mary Bartley Meehan. Her husband was in a nursing home. He had a cancer tumour on his face. When Mary went to visit him, she noticed that his fingernails were way too long, and he had scratched his facial tumour to such an extent that it had become infested by maggots. Now, I asked Simon Harris and Stephen Donnelly to carry out an investigation into that family's situation. Both ministers said no. The HSE said no. HICWA said no. The Department of Health says no. Today we had to listen to Fergus O'Dowd come in here and look to get the government's defence in early with regards to what's happened in Galway, seeking to build a paper wall between the state and private nursing homes, seeking to wash the government's hands with regards to responsibilities of the nursing homes. That's an incredible situation. Minister, you and the government are responsible for what happens in all nursing homes. All nursing homes should be available to be investigated. There should be no paper wall stopping. Minister Eamon Ryan is here. I asked Minister Eamon Ryan, he might remember himself, to look at how we can investigate what happened to Mary Bartley Meehan's case. And I quoted at the time that the Ombudsman himself has stated that there is great frustration in the Ombudsman's office, that they do not have the power to investigate what's happening in private nursing homes. Great frustration. It's in the programme for government that the government would investigate what's happening in private nursing homes. But yet, we are not there and not near there. It's so frustrating to see it happen again. I heard that the last speaker there, the deputy from Limerick, speaking, and he asked questions. He asked questions, what was the government policy with regards living with COVID? Let's be very clear here. There is no government policy beyond 6 weeks. There is no exit plan out of this other than a vaccine. It's an incredible situation. I spoke to the HSE today and we asked the question, is there a chance to get a vaccine to the population of this country by the end of 2021? Obviously, a definitive answer wasn't given, but you could tell by the tone of voice that it's very unlikely that 60% of the population of this state will have a vaccine by the end of 2021. So that means we will be continuing in this situation indefinitely, in a COVID yo-yo policy, which is having massive detrimental negative effects on the whole of Irish society. And don't get me wrong, this is a serious illness. We need to do our best to keep those numbers down. And like all of the other speakers, we need to do the simple stuff right. But we also need to learn to live with this illness. Because, yes, there is a cost to COVID, but there is a significant and real cost to the restrictions. A cost that the government can't quantify, because for 7 months the government has never researched the cost of restrictions with regard to mortality, morbidity, mental health, any of those issues. We're pushing hundreds of thousands of people into poverty currently at the moment. And as a result, this will in the future cause morbidity and mortality as well. I believe that the idea of imposing fines on a population that is radically losing their income, that has been pushed out of work, is an incredible thing. It is, introducing fines on the population at the moment is equal to the government raising a white flag and saying we have lost. They have lost the population. In the first wave, the energy, the commitment, the focus of the Irish population was singular with regards to reducing this. The government has changed policy on fines because they know they have lost a significant section of the Irish population on this particular issue. These are draconian measures that the government is taking. Ireland is an outlier in European terms with regards to the severity of restrictions in this country. An outlier. Even in Paris today, with their restrictions, you can attend church services, you can shop, and you can go to restaurants. Why is it that Ireland is an outlier with regards to restrictions, when in reality we are mid-table with regards to the incidence of the illness? Two reasons. One, because the tracking and tracing system in this country has crashed. It's as simple as that. It has crashed. We cannot extinguish the illness where it exists through tracking and tracing anymore. The second reason is because we don't have the ICU capacity that other countries have. Now, we had a budget of 18 billion euros announced last week. 18 billion euros. And yet, we've hardly moved the dial at all with regards to the increase in the number of ICU beds. The front line of the COVID battle rests on the shoulders of the Irish people, because the government haven't put in the necessary defences with regards to tracing and tracking at all. At the start of this year, there was 2,000 tracers in the country. Now there are 500. How does that actually happen, that you go backwards in terms of the number of people employed by the state to trace this illness? I'll leave it there, but I'll just say, alas Cancorlia, the sense of frustration around the country today when the news of the nursing home in Galway unfolds, that 26 out of 27 residents of that nursing home have caught COVID, and that nursing home called out for help and received none. That we had 2 staff members. This was reported by a GP in the area today, a very, very eminent individual.
Just 1 second, Minister.
I will take the advice of the minister here. I will take the advice of the minister here. If the minister says that's not true, I will take that sentence back. But the information that I have, and it's from a good, reliable source, a GP in the area that was in contact with the Clare Byrne RTE show, was that 2 people spent 72 hours in the care of those individuals. Tell me that's not true, Minister.